So when I first turn on my 802.11 device, so this would be when I open up my laptop and I turn on the radio, open up my tablet, open up my smartphone, what's going to happen is that I will start looking for wireless networks. And what you've seen before is that I might have a radio that operates in the 2.4 gigahertz band and also in the 5 gigahertz band. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan the different frequency channels in the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz if I'm capable of supporting both radios. And so I'll scan them and then I will select one of those access points to connect to. And my decision on how to connect may be based on the SSID, on the signal strength. There could be a variety of factors. As a user, I get to select, oh, I want to connect to the Cisco network. Oh, I want to connect to Avril's network. But if there's multiple access points and different channels, then typically you'll connect to the one that you hear the best. And the algorithms that determine which one you connect to are proprietary to the vendor that created the radio product in your device. Now there are two forms of scanning. There is active scanning and passive scanning. So let's take a look at active scanning first. In active scanning, this is when I actually send a probe request. Imagine, if you would, that I am just turned my radio on. So what I do then is I tune it to channel 1 on the 2.4 gigahertz band and I send a probe request frame. I may or may not get one or more probe response frames back. I then go to channel 2 and repeat the process, send a probe request, I may get a response back. Go to channel 3, repeat the process, go to channel 4, etc. When I've finished scanning all of the frequencies, I then look at all my probe response frames and say, okay, this is the one with the SSID that I want to connect to, and it has the strongest signal strength, and then I'll go ahead and connect to that access point. Now the probe response frames contains all the information that was contained in the beacon. And that's why I said to you earlier, if you turn off the beacon, it doesn't really make any difference because all I have to do is listen to the probe response frames and then I have all the information that was contained in the beacon. The advantage of doing a probe request as opposed to listening to the beacon is simply the fact that I'm not waiting to listen for the beacon. So I can go to channel 1 immediately and then send my probe request and get a response back. Then go to channel 2. Then go to channel 3. So it's much quicker if I'm in active scanning. The disadvantage, of course, is I'm actually sending probe requests, which take up valuable RF resources. And so in an environment which isn't heavily loaded, you can set your clients to do probe requests. In an environment which is heavily loaded, then you may want to turn active scanning off in your environment. And then you can have passive scanning. And this is what we were talking about earlier, is that I will tune to channel 1, I'll listen for the beacons. Now I obviously want to listen for a period that's longer than the beacon interval, and I don't really know what the beacon interval is on different access points. So maybe I'll listen for 200 milliseconds, then I'll tune my radio to channel 2 and I'll listen for 200 milliseconds, tune it to channel 3, listen for 200 milliseconds, etc. And again, once I've collected all the beacons, I can then make a decision as to which SSID I want to connect to and then which access point based on the signal strength. Most enterprise organizations will define a policy for how clients can connect to the wireless network, and whether you allow active or passive scanning can be part of setting up that policy of how users can connect to the network.